Hi folks, TJ here. Woke up this morning and was thinking, what if Atari computer division, not the current Atari computer gaming company, which is cool. I'm glad they make the VCS 800. But what if the original Led Trammell Atari computer division continued on well after 1990s when they went out of business? What would this computer world in my home be like? I can't say for your home, but for my home, what would it have been like? What would this world be if Atari continued on in terms of computers? Now, the odds are, my thought is, the Trammells would probably not own it anymore. The odds are, I mean, just look at all the big computer companies of the day. Apple, Wozniak and Jobs were the two main. Obviously, Jobs has passed on. I think he's technically still an employee at Apple. He has like one share or whatever. But obviously, he hasn't been in any day-to-day anything for so long. So they're kind of, the original history's kind of gone. What other companies you have? You've got the Amigas. That one's, oh God, Commodore. Good Lord. I mean, some of these convoluted, crazy-ass shit that happens with some of our favorite computer companies. So yeah, Amiga and Commodore, they're long gone. I mean, Trammell was part of the original Commodore, right? So that's gone. What other platforms we have? Sinclair. Sir Clive's gone now, but obviously he sold to Amstrad. So there's all these little stories of some of our favorite computer companies that went out of business. Many of them, some of them the 80s, some of them the 90s. But we're going to talk about Atari today. Just what's on my mind and nothing factual. It's just my 3 cents worth of what if Atari continued on after the mid-90s? What would my personal world kind of be like? Because what led me to buy Atari in the first place? I have to say it's probably power without the price. That motto, I had to buy my own computer. I was not given a computer as a youth. I needed to earn my way, and I had paper route money and other things that I did to earn and buy my computer. So I love my Atari. Power without the price gave me many things that the Apple of the day, I mean, back then, there was a lot of competition. I mean, early on, the TRS, Radio Shack Tandy, TRS-80 actually was, I think in the early days, pretty powerful. And then they kind of were shifted aside. And really, if you look at it, the Apple is what really blew up. I think the Apple 8-bit computers blew up the world of really high-end, workforce, business-related, and gaming and fun and home, all that. Apple was pretty powerful, right? So Atari was always there. You had the Commodores, of course. But yeah, power without the price. So Atari, 1990s come. Trammell somehow found a way to market the Atari and actually have money to continue to perpetrate it past the Falcon, which was kind of the last computer hurrah. They had the TTO-30 and they had the Falcon. That was pretty much it. Then they went to trying to make the company last with having the Jaguar, which never really kicked in. But we're talking about computers. So what happens if somehow they found more of a niche? They had some niches in some countries, like in Germany. I think they did pretty dang good in Germany for desktop publishing arena. And but what happens if some other countries latched on and Atari started moving on to past the 68030? Because they never got past that officially in-house on a production computer. They stopped at 68030, which was in our TT and Falcon. What happens if they moved on to the 68040 and then the Power PC? Imagine a Power PC Atari. What would that have been like? And then what would Atari done? Would they have been like the current Amiga platform, which is still trying to stay Power PC in that family? Or would they have moved on to Intel like Apple did? Apple eventually, after they made for many years Power PC computers. So I would have seen Atari continue on with the Power PC. But at a certain point, I wonder if they would have also jumped ship. Would they have moved on ARM? Intel? I don't know. I kind of wish that they would have did something different than the norm. Something about doing different than the norm appeals to me Something about a oddity computer platform that's a little different. When you think business, you think Intel, right? Back in the day, Intel and the whole X80 process, X86, whatever the heck it is. And then they, obviously today we have AMD and these other things, but the business world was kind of Intel dominated, right? Atari, I think, would have been cool if they were still PowerPC. Let's go on a tangent, like, for example, the B-Box. Some people won't even know what a B-Box is, but the BOS, which was a phenomenally cool operating system, quite powerful, written from the ground up for the B-Box, and then later on they made an Intel version, but they started out as a PowerPC. So I could see Atari sticking with the PowerPC platform. How long would it have lasted? Well, in my world, it would continue on to today, because that's what this whole story is about. What if Atari was still here today? I would think that hopefully they would have been, again, power without the price. I don't know if that would have stuck through post-Trammell era. I mean, the Trammells are still of an age, Leonard and Gary and Sam. They could still be in business and still being head of things, but they've been out of the world so long, I don't know if they would have continued on. My guess is they would have sold it to some other group, or maybe a new group that was being brought up in the ranks would have taken over. But, yeah, I would have think ARM. I don't know, Atari, ARM, processing, computers, power without the price, cheaper, not quite on the same par level as the Intel processors of this day and age, or the Apple processors that are now out. But I would have thought it would have been cool that Atari would have stayed in the computer world. They found a way. Desktop publishing is still a thing, I guess. I mean, there's still newspapers being made. There's still printed magazines that are done. There's electronic magazines. So you still have the need for a computer platform to create all of this media, whether it's newspapers, magazines, online, e-zines, whatever you want to call them. Would Atari have found a niche in something like that? Would if they have continued on in the music industry, found a way to capitalize on their early lead, if you want to call it that, with MIDI, and continued on with some type of music? I mean, just imagine this day and age. Imagine if Atari were the owners of the whole iTunes. Is it really called iTunes anymore? I've kind of lost track. Music, but the whole online streaming music type of world. Imagine if Atari would have taken the music side of things and advanced and became popular with the whole MP3 back then, downloadable music, and somehow moved the music part of it and thought in advance, maybe we should stream music like Apple did. I mean, Apple's a juggernaut. They own a lot of different things, and obviously iTunes world, I'll continue to call it iTunes, is quite big. Well, imagine if Atari would have found that niche and grabbed onto the streaming world of music and MIDI and music production, and that would have been their big thing. And they could have left the video world to Amiga, which back then at one point, Amiga, I'll say, owned it. They had wonderful video production. Imagine if Amiga, we'll throw an Amiga. We'll let Amiga live today too. They would have, past ownership issues aside, they would have found a way in the video world to dominate. Atari would have dominated in streaming of media and music production via computers. Apple would, I don't know, do we want to take away from Apple? Okay, let Apple be the mobile device world. Think about it. I mean, Mac is still pretty popular, but Apple's bread and butter is the whole iPhone architecture, and obviously the iPod for a while, and the iPads, and the wristwatches. Let Apple dominate the mobile world with iPads and iPhones and all that. Atari Music, Amiga the video, and who else is there? Screw IBM, screw the Intel outside world. Let's throw a little piece of the pie in for B. I'm a kind of a fan of the BOS. I owned a couple of B boxes in the day. It was really a pretty awesome operating system. So throw a little doodad in there for them. But I could do away. There's other operating system. I mean, obviously, when you think of Sinclair, you don't think operating system, at least for me. I think of just a game platform that had just a basic DOS-type architecture, if you want to call it that, but not like a full, you never saw a full-blown operating system under the world of Sinclair. The QL started getting some of that in with the mouse activity, but they were really pretty prehistoric, in my opinion, on that. They never capitalized on that with the QL. But yeah, what would have, we'll let Sinclair be the gaming world. How about that? So Atari could be, in the world of computers, the music. Apple can be the mobile. Amiga can be the video. And Sinclair can be the gaming juggernaut. How's that? Does that work for you guys? Now, there's some people that have some platforms that go, what about my TI-99? And what about my Auric Atmos? And all these other computers I fell in love with. The Sam Coupe that's back there. I don't know. You post down below. Those are your ideas. But my idea today is it's 2023. Atari is still here. They are the stream. Right now, I'm going to close this video. And I'm going to go off and listen to some music streamed and watch movies and stuff streamed from Atari because they won that world. And then I'm going to create this video on an Amiga because they are the owners of the video world. And then I'm going to grab my iPhone and have my watch on and my iPad. And I'm going to go off and do my mobile world with the Apple. And then I'm going to want to play some games. So even though Atari ruled the early gaming world, let Sinclair take that over. They have like 10 bazillion games for the Sinclair. Let the Specky Next X become the game leader of gaming home entertainment. And that's my world today, here in 2023 in my household. Now, I'm going to wake up in a few minutes and go, that's not what happened, TJ. Sorry to say, there's other companies that rule the world. But for a moment in time, we all got to enjoy our favorite computer platforms doing some specialty, and they became the juggernauts they should have become or could have become. So anyway, thanks for listening to me yap, jabber jaw. But have you played Atari today? Play some. It's an awesome computer platform, and I'm glad to have been part of the early days and continue to use Atari today. Thanks for watching the video. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.